They never heard me. They thought they did. But they only listened to echoes of their own noise. I was surrounded, not by people, by voices, shouting opinions, whispering judgments, telling me who I am, what I should be, how I must feel. Louder, louder, always louder. The world never speaks, it screams, and I was drowning in it. Every time I tried to speak, they spoke over me. Every time I tried to breathe, they told me to be grateful I had lungs. I was silenced, not by chains, but by volume, the volume of their comfort, the volume of their delusions, the volume of their need for me to stay small. And when I went quiet, they called it weakness. When I stopped defending myself, they called it guilt. When I stopped showing up, they called it failure. But tell me, what do you call a man who bleeds for others and is still told he's not enough? You call him broken. You call him lost. You call him invisible. That's what I was. Not gone, just unseen. Not lost, just left behind by people who never looked. They saw the smiles, the nods, the small talk. They never saw the cracks. They never saw the fists clenched behind calm hands, the sleepless nights, the shaking voice, the weight that crushed me in silence. Because pain doesn't always scream, sometimes it whispers, and mine whispered so long, it forgot how to shout. So I swallowed it, all of it, every insult dressed as advice, every betrayal disguised as love, every look that said you're nothing. I swallowed it and smiled. I let them believe I was fine. I let them celebrate the version of me they could control. But inside, I was shattering, splinter by splinter, day by day. I begged the world for mercy once. It laughed. So I stopped begging. I stopped explaining, stopped proving, stopped performing. Because they didn't want the real me. They wanted a reflection of themselves. A puppet dressed in apology. But I'm not sorry anymore. I'm not sorry for the silence. I'm not sorry I left. I'm not sorry they lost access to me. Because what they called silence was the sound of me saving myself. What they mistook for weakness was the beginning of something unimaginable. The noise didn't break me. It forged me. It taught me that peace isn't found in applause. It's found in distance. They thought they silenced me, but I was only stepping away to hear the sound of my own soul, unfiltered, untouched, unapologetic. I am not the person who stayed quiet. I am the person who survived the storm of voices and came out whispering truth like thunder. Let them remember this: the louder they got, the stronger my silence became. And now that I've heard who I really am, their noise means nothing. They built me wrong, on purpose. Do you understand what that means? They gave me flaws and called them lessons. They handed me a script of silence and said it was strength. They bound my voice in politeness, in obedience, in chains, then mocked me when I choked on my own restraint. Everything I was taught was a lie. They told me, be kind. So I bled for people who wouldn't even blink if I disappeared. They told me, be humble. So I bowed to those who spat on me. They told me, be patient. So I waited in line for things I was born to conquer. No more. Do you hear me? No more. They didn't want me healed. They wanted me quiet. They didn't want me whole. They wanted me hollow. They didn't want me strong. They wanted me manageable. They painted weakness as virtue. They called suffering a rite of passage as if pain was some sacred badge instead of a tool they used to keep me small. It was never about me finding peace. It was about them keeping power. So they built me soft, taught me to smile while I shattered, taught me to nod while I drowned, taught me to love people who carved scars into me with clean hands and cleaner smiles. But I learned, I learned, every betrayal was a book, every lie was a map, every scar became scripture. I read their plans like prophecy, and I rewrote them. Let them come now, let them see what I've become, because I took everything they used to break me and reforged it. Their doubt, armor, their silence, my weapon, their underestimation, a crown forged in fire. I am not what they designed. I am what rose in spite of it. You see, they built me to beg. Now I command. They built me to fall. Now I rise. They built me to fade. Now I burn. I am not their product. I am their consequence. Let them fear me now, because I am what happens when the broken learn how to build themselves. Brick by brick, scar by scar, rage by holy rage. I was built to break, but I refused. And now I build. And this time it's indestructible. I let them think I was broken. Let them sit in their circles, whispering lies they mistook for truth. Let them convince themselves that I was finished, defeated, gone. But I wasn't gone. I was watching. I was waiting. I was becoming. They thought silence meant surrender. But silence is a weapon. One sharper than any scream, more dangerous than rage, more permanent than revenge. I didn't disappear. I detached. I didn't shatter, I shed. The version of me they wanted, gone. The one who begged to be seen, buried. The one who stayed to prove them wrong, dead. And in the quiet, I learned something they'll never understand. That when the world writes your obituary, you get to decide whether to stay dead or come back as something else entirely. So I let them write me off. Let them drown in their smug little victories. Let them sleep soundly, thinking the threat was gone. Let them breathe easy, just long enough to forget the weight of my presence. Because absence isn't weakness, it's strategy. You see, a predator doesn't roar when it hunts, it stalks, it studies, it strikes. I didn't retreat, I recalibrated. They think I lost because I walked away, but they'll never know that walking away was the loudest thing I've ever done. I turned my back on their games, not because I couldn't play, but because I was building an entirely different battlefield. Let them think I vanished. Let them believe they broke me, because when I rise, and I will rise, it won't be for applause. It won't be for approval. It'll be for the silence that screamed louder than their judgment ever could. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them pray that I never return, because the most dangerous ones are the ones they thought were done. And I'm just getting started. They thought the dark would drown me. They thought if I disappeared long enough, I'd fade, dissolve, break. But they never understood. Some of us were made for the dark. I didn't vanish. I ignited. In the silence, I stopped begging to be seen. I stopped asking to be saved. I stopped waiting for hands that only pushed me down, and I built my own altar. One made of everything they tried to bury me with: their doubt, fuel; their hate, fuel; their silence, the match. You see, I didn't just survive in the darkness, I studied in it. I trained in it. I burned in it. And in that burning, I was reborn. Not as who I was, but as what I was always meant to become. Not the outcast, not the victim, not the ghost they forgot. I became the fire they tried to extinguish, not the fire they mocked, the fire they ran from, the fire that now lights the path they can't walk anymore. Because while they rested in comfort, I was learning how to suffer without breaking. While they laughed in rooms I was locked out of, I was sharpening teeth. While they thought I was gone, forever, I was becoming unforgiving. I don't speak their language anymore. I don't crave their approval. I don't chase their love. I don't bow to their gods. Because the dark taught me something the light never could. I don't need to be accepted to be unstoppable. I don't need to be welcomed to be feared. I don't need to be loved to win. Pain didn't kill me. It built me. Abandonment didn't erase me. It rewrote me. And silence? Silence turned me into something they were never ready for. A storm that announces nothing. A blaze that asks no permission. A reckoning that carries no mercy. Let them pray I stay gone. Let them whisper their lies to keep each other calm. Let them pretend I'm still beneath them. Because when I return with everything they never saw coming. I return with eyes that don't flinch, with hands that don't shake, with a heart that doesn't need them. I return without apology, without explanation, without chains. In the darkness, I found truth. And the truth is, I don't want peace anymore. I want power. Not the kind handed down from those too weak to keep it. The kind that grows in silence, breathes in pain, rises from ashes. I am not here to fit in. I am not here to be chosen. I am not here to be saved. I am the consequence. I am the shift in the air before the storm hits. I am the flame licking the walls of their comfort. I am the shadow that does not leave. This is not revenge. This is resurrection. This is the answer to every laugh, every doubt, every time they called me too much or not enough. This is not about proving them wrong. This is about proving me right. I don't walk in their world anymore. I walk in my own fire. And it doesn't burn me. It crowns me. Let them scream. Let them run. Let them try to rebuild what they broke in me. It's too late. I am the dark. I am the fire. And I have already begun to consume everything they thought was safe. They thought I vanished empty-handed. They thought I left with nothing but silence in my mouth and shadows on my back. They thought I walked away hollow, defeated, erased. But they never saw what I carried. They never saw what I became. Because I didn't leave as a ghost, I left as a storm they couldn't name. I took the pain, all of it, every whispered lie, every blade twisted with a smile, every door slammed in my face while they laughed behind it. I took the weight of the names they gave me. Too much, too dark, too broken. I wore them like armor, and every insult they carved into my soul became scripture for my resurrection. I took the memories, the moments they thought I'd forget, the way their eyes looked when they decided I wasn't enough, the way they celebrated when I fell. I took those two, folded them into the corners of my mind like knives wrapped in silk. I took the silence, the cold, beautiful silence, not the kind that weakens, the kind that sharpens. Because silence isn't surrender. It's the space where gods are forged. And in that silence I rebuilt, alone, but not lost, not broken, refined. I didn't leave behind my fire. I buried it deeper, where they couldn't touch it, where it could grow untamed and unseen, until the time was right to rise. I took my name back, the one they tried to erase, the one they only whispered when they were afraid I might return. I took my power, not the kind they hand out with permission, the kind you steal from the edge of the abyss, the kind you bleed for, the kind that costs everything except your soul. And I took my truth, the truth they buried beneath their masks and performances, the truth they feared more than anything, that I was never theirs to destroy. I left their world, yes, but I took their illusion with me and I shattered it, piece by piece, lie by lie. And now, in the ruins of what they thought I was, there is only me. The truth, the silence, the storm. What I took with me wasn't just pain. It was proof. Proof that I endure, proof that I adapt, proof that I remember. And when I return, I won't come back seeking peace. I'll come back as everything they tried to kill. Let them prepare. Let them pray. Let them pretend they've forgotten me. Because I took more than memories. I took vengeance, and it remembers everything. They thought I was gone. Silence meant surrender to them. Disappearance meant defeat. They whispered, like cowards. Whispers because they knew if they said my name out loud, I might return. And they weren't ready for that. They asked each other, what happened to them? Did they finally break? Did the weight finally crush them? No, I didn't break. I chose to walk away from the circus. I let them believe their lies. Let them build stories to comfort themselves. Because the truth would burn. They said I lost my mind. They're right. I lost the mind they programmed, the mind they poisoned. I buried it, and from that grave, something colder, sharper, unforgiving, rose in its place. They thought I was a ghost, but ghosts haunt. I don't haunt. I loom. They felt it. The shift, the unease when things stopped falling apart without me because they realized I was the glue. The silence I left behind wasn't empty. It was a mirror, and they didn't like what they saw in it. Let them whisper. Let them spin their harmless, Stories in rooms too small to hold the truth, because if they ever spoke it out loud, they'd choke on it. I didn't leave because I was weak. I left because I finally understood. Understood that they needed me broken to feel whole. Understood that if I stayed, I'd keep bleeding for people who'd never even noticed the wounds. So I vanished. And in the void, they felt it. The absence of something real. The absence of someone who once gave without asking, fought without credit, stayed without thanks. Now, they scan every shadow hoping not to see me. They speak softly in case the wind carries their words to wherever I am. They walk on eggshells, hoping I stay gone, because they know deep down they never deserve to survive my silence. They whisper like I'm a myth, but I am not a myth. I am the memory that won't die, the lesson they'll never stop learning, the consequence they prayed would forget them. But I don't forget. I evolve. I endure. I return. And when I do, it won't be with apologies. It won't be with warnings. It won't be with mercy. It will be with every ounce of the power I found when they left me for dead. Let them whisper. Let them pray. Let them pretend they still control the story. Because soon, the silence they mocked will be the silence that ends them. They thought I vanished because I was afraid. They thought I ran. They thought I gave up. And maybe for a moment I let them believe that, because it was easier to let them sit in their ignorance, to let them mock a silence they couldn't understand, to let them think the ghost they buried stayed dead. But I wasn't hiding. I was building. I was sharpening my teeth behind every quiet breath, stacking every insult like bricks, paving the road back with every lie they told about me. No, return was never the plan. Revenge was, and I didn't come back to explain myself. I didn't crawl out of the dark to ask for space at their table. I built my own, carved it from the bones of everything they tried to destroy in me. I don't need their validation. I don't want their apologies, and I damn sure don't need their permission. I'm not here to be seen. I'm here to be felt. I came back to be the consequence they didn't count on. The storm they swore would never reach their doorstep. Don't let them say I changed. Let them say I'm colder now, crueler, darker. They're right. I am. Because pain made me precise. Betrayal made me brutal. And silence made me sovereign. I watched them laugh when I left. Watched them relax when my name faded from their mouths. But I was never gone. I became the shadow behind their pride, the fire beneath their comfort, the fear that keeps their joy from lasting too long. This is not a comeback story. It's an execution. This is where the ones who doubted choke on certainty, where the ones who mocked beg for mercy, where the ones who played God meet the devil they made. I don't need crowds. I don't need noise. I don't need the world to know my name. I need them to remember it. Every scar they left, every crack they caused, every moment they looked me in the eyes and swore I'd never rise. I bring it back now tenfold. Their words were blades. I bled. Their silence was poison. I swallowed it. Their absence was war. I survived it. And now I return, not as who I was, but as everything they feared I'd become. Ruthless, unshaken, unapologetically dangerous. So let them speak now. Let them scramble for reasons. Let them spin stories to excuse what's coming. It won't matter, because I am not here to be understood. I am here to be unleashed. They thought I'd stay gone, but I never stay. I rise, I reign, and I ruin. This isn't revenge out of spite. This is justice carved in silence. They wanted me broken. Now they'll watch me become the breaking point. They wanted peace. They should have given it when they had the chance, because I gave them warnings in the form of silence. And now I speak, not with words, with wrath. Let them remember this moment. Let them remember what happened when the ghost came back with a voice. Let them remember return was never the plan, but revenge was destiny. They kept asking when I'd come back, as if I left something behind, as if I was ever theirs to begin with. They called it a disappearance, but I called it evolution. I didn't vanish. I ascended, quietly, completely. And without asking for permission, they waited for noise, for a scream, for some grand collapse. But I gave them nothing. Nothing. Except absence. And do you know what absence does? It haunts. It festers. It becomes the echo they can't silence. Because I didn't burn bridges, I turned them to ash and walked away barefoot. Through the smoke, they thought silence was weakness. They thought quiet meant defeat. But silence is a weapon. One they never saw coming. One they can't defend against. I let them fill the void with stories. I let them lie to themselves. He gave up. He cracked. He was never strong enough. Let them talk. Let them invent whatever endings comfort their cowardice. Because while they chased validation, I chased vengeance through peace. I left no trace, no farewell, no closure. And that is what broke them. They wanted a fight. They needed noise. But I gave them the one thing they couldn't control: silence, total, deafening, inescapable. And now, every time they close their eyes, they see the space I used to fill. Every victory tastes bitter because I'm not there to lose. Every mirror reminds them that I'm no longer watching, and somehow that scares them more. You see, I didn't come back for applause. I didn't come back to explain. There will be no speeches, no warnings, only outcomes. Because I am not here to be seen. I am here to be remembered. In silence, in shadow, in the weight they feel pressing on their chest when the room is too quiet to lie anymore. Let them search for me in old messages. Let them replay my voice and pretend it meant nothing. Let them scroll through memories they pretended to erase. I don't need to return, because my absence is louder than their presence ever was. This is my legacy. Not carved in marble, not shouted from rooftops, but etched into the spaces they thought I'd never leave. Let them remember me in silence. Let that silence grow teeth. Let it gnaw at their comfort, at their illusions, at their denial. Because silence is not surrender. It is strategy. It is survival. It is the language of those who no longer owe the world an explanation. So, when they speak of me, let them stumble. Let them pause. Let them choke on the truth they tried to bury. I am not gone. I am just no longer visible. And there's nothing more dangerous than the one you cannot see but feel everywhere. Let them remember me in silence. And may that silence never let them rest. They never see us coming. The silent ones, the still ones, the ones who watched and remembered everything. We were never weak, just quiet. And that made them comfortable. They thought noise meant power. That screams meant strength. But they forgot. The sharpest blades are drawn in silence, and we were sharpening. They talked. We listened. They laughed. We learned. They moved like storms, loud, wild, and reckless. But we became the earthquake. No warning. No mercy. Just silence. And then collapse. They mistook our stillness for surrender. Our absence for defeat. But you and I, we know the truth. We don't vanish. We transform. They will look back and wonder, where did they go? And the answer will echo like a curse. We never left. Look at yourself. You're not broken. You're unreadable. You are not weak. You are unshakable. You've been through wars they'll never understand. Buried beneath their noise, burned by their doubt, and still, here you are, breathing, standing, becoming. Let them roar. Let them rise. Let them come with fire. We'll end it in a whisper, not with screams, but with silence that suffocates, not with fury, but with calm that kills. Because the quietest ones end the loudest wars.